Good morning and welcome to the Red Net Show, where it's always morning, even in the afternoon, even if we do lose a little bit of connectivity here as we get started up. So everything is catching back up right here. But welcome to the show here. Hopefully, very soon, we will not be going through any of the computer issues anymore because looks like some things came in favor of me here, and we won't have the laptop anymore. So the new desktop is coming up here, but. In spite of my computer woes and everything else coming up here, the news stops for nobody, and we do need to get on with the show. So, well, it is always morning in the afternoon. I don't even know if I said that or not here. I'm just sitting here wondering if everything is coming back over. But here we go. This is the Red Net Show on the little podcast that could. How was your week?
Pretty good. How was yours?
It was not bad. I mean, especially looking back at what happened with the taxes and all that, how that's coming out here, and realizing that I can come and build a new computer. It's been decent. I spent the weekend outside with my dad, and I know that you got to spend some time out with the kid too. It sounded like this week, so everything looks like it's really, really good family-wise for us here.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good.
Yep, we're almost done with soccer season, so I won't spend my Saturdays and some of my Sundays sitting on the sidelines watching like kids soccer. Lucas is in second grade. Kids soccer at that age, and like he did it in kindergarten too, is it's like herding cats, but they're all chasing a ball, which is hilarious.
Well, I guess for me, I never really got into soccer, but I also don't have any kids, so I didn't really ever have to pretend I liked soccer either. So there is that going on with that. But yeah, it sounds like it's good.
He loves it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to not having to be somewhere every single Saturday.
Yeah, that'll probably be good for you anywhere. But when you're not somewhere every single Saturday, you can spend your time reading the news because, well, that's pretty much all that I do at this point here. But we do have a bunch of stuff to get to as far as we go with a pipeline that was just starting to unfold when we were on here last week, but it just kind of came and went. And, well, we might see some more stuff for this coming down in the future because our friends over at Colonial Pipeline did something tremendously stupid. So
They
we'll
paid
the
the ransom.
So we'll talk a bit about that. Also, just breaking last week while we were sitting on, it was starting before we got on the news last week, but it was just pretty much starting to break and unfold last week, was the Israel and Palestine conflict. I have Iran and Palestine for whatever reason in the notes, but it is Israel and Palestine and everything else that went along with that as well. And that's a mess in and of itself. So we'll break down everything that happened with that over the week and the fact that this is still ongoing. We'll talk a bit about what's happening there and what this could mean for the country going forward. We're going to briefly touch on the Liz Cheney saga because Cheney is out and Stefanik is in. And I have in the notes the one question here: why does this matter? So we'll talk just a bit about what's going on there. Lastly, it looks like some of the unemployment stuff is starting to turn around, and some of the mask stuff is starting to turn around too. So we'll talk just a bit about what's going on there. Plus, I will close out the show today with a little bit of surprise stupidity because, well, you really can be that stupid. So we'll talk about that towards the end of the show. I can't wait to see you cringe off of this one. And all the rest of the news that we have to cover today over on the little podcast that could. If you guys are watching right now, we are live streaming right now to YouTube, DLive, Twitch, Facebook, on both of our Facebooks and Trovo. So get on in there and live chat with us, ask us questions. We do take questions in between topics, so if you've got anything you want to ask us, make sure you get it all in there. By the way, and I also want to request everybody do this, the Twitch link is wrong in the description. I just found that out about 2 minutes before we went live, but the Twitch link is wrong in the description. But if you guys want to go over and help us out here, we are close, like within inches of affiliate status on Twitch. So all we need to do is average 3 viewers for the next month, every stream. So if you guys would rather take the time over to Twitch, go and check us out over there. By the next 30 days, we could be affiliate status over on Twitch, and we could start earning some money and let you guys subscribe to us over there as well. So if you could find it in your heart, I would love to see that. But if you can't catch us live, you can also catch us on YouTube and over on BitChute.com. And lastly, you can take us on the go on the audio platforms: iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and Spotify. Yes, I know I'm behind. I'm going to get caught back up on that again, but I'm definitely going to get it up there, get the content up there. I just got the email today that we have 1,000 downloads on the audio platform, so
Nice.
that's doing good as well. So get us up to 2,000 over there. You can take some of our stuff on the go because hey, who can't get enough of a pair of people complaining about the news throughout the week? Got a
And
couple things.
my facial expressions when you make me cringe.
Yeah, that is good too. We got some
And
stuff to catch up.
my terrible dad jokes sometimes.
Yeah, there is that. We got some stuff to catch up on though from the last week. First, I wanted to share this Babylon Bee article with you just because I thought it was kind of funny. And I'm not going to name names, but I know the person that this is about. This is about a specific person that we both know. I'm not going to name names, but according to the Babylon Bee, libertarians to begin wearing masks now that the government says they don't have to. Concord, New Hampshire, local libertarian man Bernard Paulson hasn't worn a mask his entire pandemic, saying that it's his constitutional right to go where he wants, sneeze when he wants, and lick any doorknob he so pleases. But now the CDC has eased up on mask guidelines and says they aren't required for many situations. Paulson, wanting to show his rebelliousness and love for liberty, quickly bought a box of masks from his liberal neighbor and started wearing them everywhere he went. What right does the government have to tell me not to wear a mask? You know what? I'm going to wear a mask forever. How about that? What you going to do now, big bad federal government? Are you going to come and try to take my guns now? Huh? Paulson said. We know that guy.
We do?
Actually, I could probably think of a couple people that could probably fit that description, but everyone who runs in libertarian circles knows that guy.
Well, it's funny that you say that because earlier today, Hillary Clinton tweeted, "It's pretty simple. Get vaccinated, get your life back." And I quote tweeted her and I said, "It's pretty simple. Don't tell me what to do."
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that's the way that it's really got to be. You just got to start sitting up and telling these people no. Because it is time to tell these people no. Um, do you follow Ben Garrison at all? The comic writer?
I don't think so. That
Oh,
name doesn't sound familiar.
he does political cartoons mostly. I think he's a lot more right wing than you are, so that might be where you haven't had any sort of interaction with the guy. But he had this Disney cartoon here. It's in the description and it's going to be up on the screen. But he had this one about Disney over here. So this is Woke Disney, and you can see up there you've got the Black Lives Matter horn, the Socialism Go Round, Antifa Land, which of course is on fire. You're passing through the portal, or not the portal, but the metal detector to go in, and it's vaccinated only. You've got the pronouns train up top of there, and the creme de la creme is Mickey Mouse in the center of the screen, punching out Donald Duck and say, "Take your Snow White privilege and get out of here," with a
Wow.
dwarf standing behind Snow White saying, "We would never say the M word." So I'm guessing Mouse is a slur now at this point. Must be.
We would never say the M word.
Yeah, that's the only M word I can think of that would get Mickey so mad.
I can't see the image, but I'm thinking in my head that maybe they meant midget because they're dwarves.
Oh, that could be.
And
The image
Mickey
is
is
in it's in the document. It's
If
at the
Mickey
bottom.
is defending them, then I could see that. But
Yeah.
what you said makes sense too. I just had to like process it.
It's on the screen if you're watching over on mobile, or I actually put it in the document, so it's down at the bottom. If you just scroll down there, you'll see that. But I thought that was kind of entertaining, a little bit funny, maybe a bit too on the nose. But the Matterhorn, the Black Lives Matterhorn, was the one that got me. That's hilarious. Let's see, what else do we have going on here? Oh, Bill and Melinda. That's not over yet.
It's not going to be over for a while.
It is, but I am thinking, and we talked a bit about this off mic before the show, but they're turning on Bill Gates really, really quickly, which means that I'm guessing they don't have any use for him anymore. Hopefully. Maybe they'll take all his farmland back away from him. But according to CNN, Microsoft board is investigating Bill Gates over an alleged affair with an employee, the report says. So I read through this morning on Contemporary, and it looks like I guess Bill Gates tried to make an attempt to have a romantic relationship with one of his employees Back in 2000, it got reported in 2019, and they just started investigating it this past week. So I don't know. There's been accusation of Me Too things being hidden when they're not politically convenient, and then coming back out when they are politically convenient. I don't know if that's what happened, but have you seen anything on this one?
I have not.
Hmm.
I knew that he had that still very cozy relationship with the woman that he dated before he married Melinda, but I hadn't seen this.
Yeah, and I remember that too. We talked about that last week towards the end of the show. Yeah, that whole situation is just horribly weird. And you got to wonder why so many women are after Bill Gates if it's just the money or what the hell it is. I mean, it's almost as bad as Michael Cera and Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Like, why are all these women after Michael Cera? He's Michael fucking
I
Cera.
don't understand that either. Well, there weren't women after him in that movie, were there? He had to fight
Girls?
her ex-boyfriends.
Yeah, but he was also being fawned over by Knives Chow and Ramona Flowers.
Hmm. I guess I don't remember that part of it, but it's been forever since I've seen that movie, so I'm shocked that you've seen it.
I like that movie. I just saw it for the first time last year, but I like that movie.
You're only like 10 years behind. It's fine.
Anyway, so yeah, I don't understand. Well, the Bill Gates thing. The dude is weird. He is a little bit off. There's something wrong with that dude, but they're throwing him under the bus just as quickly as they can. So
That's interesting because they didn't do that. Did they do that with Jeff Bezos? They kind of did because of his relationship with the nanny or whoever she was, but other than that, they weren't, I don't know, they weren't like trotting out all this like stuff from his past, I feel like.
I don't know. I don't really remember, and I didn't pay a lot of attention to the Bezos one either. Like it was there, and I'm like, okay, well, she's about to get rich, and he's gonna still be rich, and that was really all the mind that I paid to that entire situation.
Yeah, I
To be
think she's
completely
given I think to date, Mackenzie Bezos, I can't remember what her new married name is. She got remarried
hmm
to a science teacher in Seattle, and
I'm shocked.
they have given away approximately $5.7 billion.
Wow.
So she's definitely, I mean, I'm sure she has investments and all kinds of other things that are, you know, keeping them living in the lap of luxury, but it seems like she's actually like trying to do some good with the money, which is cool.
Yeah, I mean that's there are worse things in the world that you could do. There really are.
I think
But
she's probably a genuinely nice person.
yeah.
Melinda
So
Gates, no idea.
yeah, we'll see how that goes, and I'm sure that this is not the last time we're going to be talking about Bill and Melinda Gates because it's news, and for whatever reason, the news people want to talk about it. So we'll see what goes on with that. Are you old enough to remember the Oregon Trail?
I am offended.
Why you
Also,
keep reminding
no.
me you're younger than me?
I, let's see. At that age, we didn't have a computer in my house that my brother and I could use on our own.
hmm
So, and I don't remember playing it in elementary school, at school when we had a computer lab. So
Yeah,
I knew that it existed, but I didn't really play it, even though I had friends that did.
yeah.
So I'm old enough to remember it, but I don't really have any experience with it because it just wasn't part of my childhood.
Well, NPR reports that the Oregon Trail is actually coming back because, and they want to target the 37 to 40 year olds like my age group that played it when we were in elementary school and remember all of our crews dying of dysentery while we were in there. But it's going to be getting a revamp because, and wait for it, it's racist.
What?
It's racist. The Native Americans in the new revamp are not going to have braids. They're not going to be using bows and arrows. And they're not going to be speaking in broken English in this game, as they did in
Okay.
the 1980s classic.
Okay. I didn't know that that was a thing in the 1980s classic because, like I said, that was not part of my childhood experience.
It's just, to me, it's kind of, and I understand that the imagery of the Native Americans was problematic in the 80s. I understand that. there was still a lot of stereotyping that went along with that, and Westerns were still huge, and I think some of them still did a lot of stereotyping with that. But, I mean, what's the next thing that's going to be racist?
Well, what I want to know is what's the line between racist and historically accurate? Because I feel like Native Americans around that time, maybe not, spoke English. So it kind of makes sense that they wouldn't speak good English in the game if you're being historically accurate. Is it historically accurate to say that Native Americans, that people on the Oregon Trail came into contact with war braids or wore any of that stuff? I don't know. Um, that probably like because I know all the different tribes are very, very different in the clothing that they wore and the hairstyles that they wore and the things that they, traded and whatnot. So I, but yeah, that's my question is it really racist or is it historically accurate or is it something in between? Like, I don't think
I
it was meant to make fun of them, but I could see how it's problematic to
yeah,
have that image on there.
I would guess that the truth is somewhere in between. If it was my guess on the question you're asking. It's somewhere between racist and historically accurate.
In that case,
Somewhere.
then I would probably go with giving the benefit of the doubt and just saying, let's not make anybody feel bad about this, like intentionally feel bad about it. So let's update it. I don't know. I don't see it as a big deal.
Yeah. Here's some good news for you. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signs bill banning local gun regulations. This comes
What?
to us from CBS 4 Miami. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signs bill banning local gun regulations.
Okay, but is he banning gun regulations that restrict ownership, or is he instituting more strict regulation?
He's banning regulations that make that are more strict. Actually,
Phenomenal.
technically, he's not doing that either. By the way, because that's already illegal according to Florida's charter. But DeSantis signed the bill, SB 1884, on Friday after the Republican controlled legislature passed it in a party line vote late last month. The bill, which will take effect on July 1st, will broaden a 2011 law that can make local governments pay as much as $100,000 in damages if they are sued for imposing gun regulations. So basically, he's not exactly banning the gun regulations, but if somebody goes back and sues the board or the municipality, he's not going to stop them, and he's in fact going to increase the amount that the people are allowed to sue for.
Interesting. Okay.
So,
Hmm.
good news for those of us down in Florida. I wonder if Yama is in here watching with us. I know they talked about this over on their Wednesday show, so we'll see. Some racist stuff for you here. They're talking about putting voter ID in place in England, and what do you know? The first thing that everyone screams is racism.
Hmm. They learned it from somewhere.
So the article I have here is talking about Boris Johnson and the fact that he's accused of Republican-style voter suppression ahead of the controversial photo ID announcement. But this isn't coming from Parliament. This is coming from the Crown. Queen Elizabeth was the one that spearheaded this.
Interesting. Because she's not supposed to get involved. I mean, she's
Apparently,
head of state, but
I see. I was of the understanding that you were correct in that statement, but apparently she gets to have one legislative session per year
hmm.
where she looks over and she changes things as she sees fit. Which I didn't know about that either until I found out about this thing.
Well, there are limits to that. It's not she can change anything that she sees fit. Like there are only certain things that are in her purview. She can't make economic decisions. She can't make tax decisions, like
Right.
nothing like that. That is completely separate. So I'm sure that they put together a docket of things that are within her purview, and then she can make or suggest changes to just those things. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think it's just a free for all.
Yeah. No. And I mean, that's part of the piece of a constitutional monarchy versus an absolute monarchy too. So yeah, I
Mhm.
could see that. But Yes, of course, the people in England are coming out and saying how racist this is and how this disproportionately affects their black and person of color population.
Interesting.
So I'm sure we'll see more of this. I got another one here that I picked up, and I'm picking a lot of stuff up. A lot of the stuff from the lightning round here was happening as we were going off the air last week. So, according to Click to Houston, there was a tiger running around a Houston neighborhood last week while we were on air.
Mm-hmm. I remember that. It has been captured now.
Yes. Yeah, it looks like somebody came up in an SUV. The tiger jumped back into it, but yes, it was just wandering around through neighborhoods. And this particular scene happened, which I thought was, I'm sorry, quite hilarious, which is why I decided I was going to put it into the video. So let's have a watch of this and have a listen to what's going on with that. Or maybe we can't because it's not going to load. I'm getting the wheel of death here.
Ruh-roh.
Why would this do this? I hope this doesn't do this for the rest of the video we have loaded up. Alright, let me see if I can get that fixed quick. Alright, let me do a little bit of investigating with this. I think I can fix this now. On-air production, it's great, but hopefully, like I said, once we get this new computer back up, then we won't have to deal with this anymore. All right.
You want to do some live chat for a minute while you're fixing that?
No, I think it's reloading at this point.
Okay.
So give that just a second to think, and we can do that. There it goes. Those of you watching back at home can see a guy holding a 45 at a tiger.
What is he doing?
I think he wants to piss the thing off, because I don't think that 45 is going to do much more than that. I'm going to get him. That's my favorite part of that. I'm going to get him. I'm going to get him.
What is the purpose of that? I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't know why he was, like, I couldn't find anything in the news article or anything on why that guy was outside. Apparently he was a sheriff's deputy.
Hmm.
But I'm sorry, unless there are kids outside that I'd be directly putting my life on the line for, you wouldn't catch me outside with that thing.
No, it looks like it's someone's pet, which is very unfortunate because that's not wise.
But yeah, and Birkenhoff would actually probably be the authority on that one because he is Houston adjacent. I know he's not in Houston proper, but I know he's Houston adjacent. So I don't know if
Okay.
that's close to where he was or anything, but yeah, that's local news for him. But yeah, that is a little bit crazy to see that that's happening. Gina Carano got in the news this week because she is up for an Emmy nomination at this point, and Lucasfilm helped push her back up for it.
Interesting.
This is coming to us from the New York Post. 3 months after Lucasfilm gave The Mandalorian star Gina Carano the axe for a series of controversial social media posts, the company has included her in their 2021 Emmy Awards campaign. The 39-year-old's name is listed under the supporting actress category in a for-your consideration poster promoting various season 2 stars of the Disney Plus show. And I heard some stories, some people, other pundits talking about the fact that they're talking about bringing her back. I've not seen a confirmation of that.
I haven't seen any confirmation of that either, and she hasn't said anything like that on Twitter. I started following her when all that blew up, and I have not seen anything like that from her, which of course she probably wouldn't be the one to announce it. It would probably be Lucasfilm or Disney that would announce it, but or they do it jointly.
But yeah, I mean, if they're going back and giving her a nod, they're either scared that they're going to lose everything because nobody likes them anymore after they got woke and went broke, or they actually think she really did a good job. And I don't know which is the case, but it's interesting. I haven't started that show yet. I know that's the next one on my list because of the poll. But for the last week I've not watched any TV whatsoever. I just get done working, I just go straight to bed. So
It's good to take a break from media sometimes.
it is.
All media, even things that you enjoy.
Yeah. Did you see that the or Republicans rather have introduced a bill to fire Dr. Fauci?
No.
This is coming to us from the Blaze. House Republicans introduced a bill on Wednesday to set term limits on appointees to direct the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, which would effectively fire top White House Chief Medical Advisor Dr. Anthony Fauci. And you know how much I love the acronyms on these bills. Are you ready for the acronym on this one?
I'm ready.
The bill is titled the Fauci's Incompetence Requires Early Dismissal Act, or the FIRED Act.
Who comes up with these things?
I don't know if that one.
I
I'm
think
sorry,
they
that was
I think they
genius.
intentionally named them that kind of stuff so that they do have an entertaining acronym like that to use.
It was introduced by Warren Davidson of Ohio and co-sponsored by several conservatives, such as Chip Roy, who we'll talk about a little bit later, Andy Biggs, and Ralph Norman. It would set a retroactive 12-year term limit and on the NIAID director, a position held by Fauci since 1984. Should it become law, Fauci would be forced to leave his job. So, and we talk about term limits left and right. You hear it on both sides as more and more people sit in the government forever. But I mean, I'm not
Mhm.
opposed to putting a term limit on some of these executive positions either.
They have a lot more power than people think that they do. And
Mm-hmm.
there are a lot of non-elected positions in DC that have that kind of power. And most of them are like before this year or before a year
You want to
ago,
talk to
nobody knew who Dr. Fauci was. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're all behind the scenes type of people. You don't know them unless you work for them or work adjacent to them in another department or something like that. They're not flashy people unless something goes wrong. Then you know who they are. But they have a lot of power, a lot of power.
Yeah, and they do, and I mean, that's the deep state that everyone talks about, and they make fun of the former president for talking about as well. It's the deep state, okay? The deep state is the one that's against me, okay? Well, that's what the majority of the media made fun of him over too, and really, honestly, I can see that it's there
Right.
because these people sit there forever and ever until they die or retire, one of the two.
hmm Yeah,
So.
they're not people that I mean, occasionally they get replaced when a new president comes in, but not very often.
Just a couple more here for you, and then we'll get into the gas pump news because that was fun. Ohio wants to make 5 people millionaires if they're vaccinated.
Ew.
So Mike DeWine has set up 5 lucky winners are going to get $1 million for getting vaccinated. It's going to be a state-run lottery. They're going to use leftover money that they have from the federal COVID response and the federal COVID aid package that went to the states. And yes, they're going to draw 5 lucky names of 5 lucky people who got both their vaccines and give them $1 million each. Doesn't that make you want to run out and get a vaccine?
No, not really. It makes me want to get one even less. Because if you have to bribe me to get it, then I don't trust you.
It's a free, fun drawing, though. I don't know. From what NPR says, you should be excited because you could get $1 million. So, our friends Marjorie Taylor Greene, who I still believe is a plant, and AOC got into it this past week. Marjorie Taylor Greene confronts Alexandria Cortez outside the House chamber. According to CNN, MTG confronted AOC outside the House chamber on Wednesday afternoon, the latest of several confrontations Greene has had with her Democratic colleagues. Ocasio-Cortez left the House chamber late Wednesday afternoon ahead of Greene, who shouted, "Hey, Alexandria!" twice to get her attention. According to the Washington Post, who reported this first, Green caught up with the Honorable and Venerable AOC and began shouting at her and asking her why she supports Antifa, far left activist groups, and Black Lives Matter, falsely labeling them terrorist groups. And of course, it's CNN, so they had to get that falsely in there.
Mm-hmm.
Green shouted at Ocasio-Cortez that she was failing to defend her radical socialist beliefs by declining to publicly debate her. Ocasio-Cortez did not stop to respond to Green and only turned around once and threw her hands in the air, which led to a lot of back and forth, including a video that I did not include, but I included on my morning show, where Ocasio-Cortez says, "These are the kind of people that I threw out of the bar."
As you should, because
Yeah.
when you are a bartender, that is not the kind of behavior that you tolerate in a bar.
But that also led to this video coming up, which you shared with me,
I
surfacing
did.
from 2019. Let's have a listen to what that sounded like. Where is it? There it is.
It's a crazy Ocasio. You come to this little thing and you open it up and you whisper into her.
Session.
This is confession. This is Ocasio confession right there.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, I'm an American citizen. I pay your salary through the taxes that you collect from me through the IRS because I'm a tax-paying citizen of the United States. I'm a woman, I'm a female business owner, and I'm proud to be an American woman. And I do not support your socialist policies, and I do not support your murderous abortion policies. As a mother of 3 children, I'm appalled at New York's law for abortion, and it needs to end, and it needs to stop now. You're bringing God's judgment on our country, and I'm against it, as well as my friends. So you need to stop being a baby and stop locking your door and come out and face the American citizens that you serve. If you want to be a big girl, you need to get rid of your diaper and come out and be able to talk to the American citizens instead of us having to use a little flap.
It's kind of like hers. It's kind
Sad.
of
I swear she has a thicker accent now.
She's ridiculous. Like, that was one, she doesn't pay her salary. The people in her district pay her salary.
Yeah,
That's so stupid.
yeah, that's the civics end of it. But I still say that she's a plant. She really is.
That was nothing more than a stunt. That was just a stunt for attention so that they could get it on video and use it for something.
Yeah. I heard somebody talking about last week, they were talking about the fact that with like people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, the same people that hired the Honorable and Venerable Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, D-Twitch, were looking to do the same thing with Republicans, get certain Republican actors in there so they could come out and make these viral scenes like that too. And, you know, I look at Marjorie Taylor Greene and all the fun shit that she does, I'm like, maybe?
Hmm.
So yeah, there is that, and I mean there is a difference between redress of grievances and going out to somebody who doesn't even represent you.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. At this time, she wasn't a congresswoman yet. I don't even know if she'd announced she was running or not, when she actually did that. But you redress your grievances to the person who represents you because they're the only person that really has any power to do
Right.
anything. So she should have been contacting her congressional rep and her senators.
Yeah,
That's it.
exactly. But
And if you're a southerner and you're all into states' rights, then you need to recognize that New York has a right to have different laws than Georgia.
yeah. And that was the other thing too. She's going in there demanding that AOC change the New York abortion law. That's a state level law. That's not a federal level law. So, yeah,
Oh, I
there's
don't stand for your New York state law. Okay, cool. You don't live in her state. You don't even live in her district. What are you doing?
exactly. All right. I have got one more for you here, and this is also a video. Because you remember the Lincoln Project, don't you? Those fun people who, for whatever reason, like the young boys that work with them.
Ooh, yes.
Well, they have a new project, and now it's the Franklin Project. Same people, but now it's the Franklin Project, and their focus is civility. Let's have a look at their introduction. Civility, from the Latin civis, meaning citizen, a way of approaching
We're
debate
at our
with
best
constructive
when
dialogue.
we're all moving in the same direction.
We must love America so much that we will stand above politics to defend her.
Of course, it's Liz Cheney.
I've always liked him. I think he's an extraordinary American.
We can find a way to bridge the gap and start listening to each other.
Where do you want to start?
I would like to start with the fact that they're calling it the Franklin Project
Okay.
and that it's about civility. Because Benjamin Franklin was not always civil. Benjamin Franklin was a deviant. So given the scandal of last year, I find it very interesting that they decided to name it the Franklin Project.
There's so much. There's so much more to go on with that too. Just everything else that was in that, and all. I mean, my God, I don't. They're coming in here to talk about having more civility in politics, which, they come out and say, how much all the other sides get along with each other, and they see HW and Bill, both fucking warmongers, by the way, sitting there, Bill talking about how much he likes HW, Liz Cheney coming out and saying, oh, well, this is not the time. This is the time for civility in public discourse, and all these other warmongering fucking assholes. All this did was cement the fact that we're not a duopoly anymore. There is a fucking monoparty. Mm-hmm. And all these people, they get up and they make their little hits at each other, and they make their little fights with each other. And it's just like wrestling. Except for the bar instead of the locker room. In wrestling, they all go out there and they curse each other's names up on the stage, and then they go into the locker room and slap each other's asses. And in politics, they do the same, except they go to the bar and slap each other's asses. Hey, good game.
Oh yeah, I mean, look at the I can't remember whose funeral it was. It might have been Nancy. No, it wasn't Nancy Reagan. Maybe Nancy Reagan. I can't remember. But it was all the former presidents and their spouses were there, and Michelle Obama was just hugging George W. Bush. Oh no, it was probably Barbara's funeral. Was his mother's name Barbara?
I think it was HW's funeral, because that was...
It might have been. It was one of those that's happened in the last couple of years. She was hugging all over him and everything, and they were all sitting together like old friends. And it's very obvious when you see them outside of chambers and legislative sessions and things like that, that saying it's a big club and you're not in it is extremely true.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a bit ridiculous with, once again, the fact that they go back in there and they hate each other for the purposes of getting votes. And then they're all friends again, and they've all been working together for 1,000 years combined at this point, or just together in Nancy Pelosi's case for 1,000 years.
Right.
But,
mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the Franklin Project.
Interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of things wrong with calling it the Franklin Project. And I feel like this happens very frequently when someone starts a project like this and they name it after some, quote unquote, great man that was a founder or something like that. Mm-hmm. They are reliant on the general public not knowing the truth about that person, because oftentimes it's a complicated person who does not have a squeaky clean past. And just like with Franklin, Franklin was a British loyalist for a very long time, and then suddenly switched sides and became, in favor of the revolution. Mm-hmm. He also had an incredible capacity for anger. He was very kind of civil. He had this kind of facade of being a civil man, but John Adams hated him because he thought that he was very lazy, very prone to sloth behavior, was not ambitious. And I think a lot of that had to do with Benjamin Franklin being so incredibly smart that it was just very easy for him to just kind of coast in life because he didn't have to try very hard compared to other people. He could just make things work, put things together, and they took off. And business was easy for him. Friendships were relatively easy for him, but he often, neglected his family in favor of advancing his own career and things like that. Those aren't very good things to be known for.
So they aren't. All right.
Exactly.
We just lost a bunch of frames off this. I hope we didn't lose any of the audio off of that. But yeah, I just looked over at the tablet and we were frozen. And I brought OBS back up and it was just frames dropping left and right. So
your Facebook is not connected. There's an error message on that. Mine is.
Let me go fix
Hi,
that
Facebook
quick.
friends.
I will fix that quick here. Tell me a little bit about this pipeline and where we started and how we got to where we were. So,
Oh my gosh.
give me a quick little review over this here, and I'm going to go do some production. Quick.
I haven't even been looking at the notes because I've been paying attention to the live chat and everything else that we've been talking about. I don't even know where we're at. Let's do live chat. I don't want to. We're connected to my Facebook again, so live chat is a lot busier than it normally is when we're not.
And I just fixed my
hi,
Facebook
everyone.
now. So,
All right, so there are lots of people here today. Quest was first. Hi, Quest. He even beat me saying good morning. Nephilium said hi. Kenny from Facebook is here. Barrett Leslie said, so who has the hook on vaccine cards? Random Randy from YouTube says, I made it. You can start now. Hi, Clint. Galt is here. Quest is saying he still plays soccer every week and now he's very slow. Yes, age catches up with all of us. Oh, Randy's going to be our third viewer on Twitch. He switched over from YouTube. Thank you.
that's awesome. Good. Yeah, if we can just maintain that for 30 days, then yeah, we'll be monetized.
Mm-hmm. Rogue
And
Texan
thank
is
you guys
here.
too by that.
He said, my libertarian circle is me and one other person here where I live. That's sad. I bet there's more people. If you're in Texas, I bet there's more libertarians. You just don't know yet. Randy agrees with me. He thinks that the M word is midget, that they weren't going to say. And I think that because they said Snow White privilege, not just white privilege.
Okay.
I'll go back and look and see.
I am losing you, and I think that might be on your end because. Oh, you're back.
Yeah, I just got a notification that my internet connection was unstable.
Okay.
So we will do the best we can.
All right. All right, I guess I'm going to be catching back up on this here. Quest Fanning says our friend Mac was surprised that Hillary Clinton referred to herself as a hair icon. My question was scalp hair. Ben Wild asks, is that the same Disney that did Song of the South? A robot came in and talked to us. No, we don't want to become famous, but other than that. Ben Wild says, I mean, come on, Bill Gates is a ladies' man in the John Travolta creepy Scientologist. Oof. Ooh, that was dark. Uh-oh, we lost the co-host. So we will see if we can't get her back here. Meanwhile, Sorgano says, yes, it's weird why women are after Bill Gates. Might be because he's richer than God. Not as rich as Bezos, but close. Why would women want that? Yeah, I suppose that's true, but... Ben Wild says, Gates is 100% total creepy uncle, like, who doesn't see that coming. Sorgano says, how do you sarcastically shocked in Twitch chat? I'm not sure. I'm still learning how to do that. You came back.
I did, yeah. Lost internet.
Still a little bit rough off of that, but you are back. Yeah, it just told me your bandwidth is low. All right. I'm going to keep going here
For it.
while we figure out what's going on here.
It closed all of my windows, so don't ask me to talk about the pipeline because I can't look at anything.
Okay. Let's see. What else do we have going on over here? The breakdown with Birkenhoff is here. Quest Fanning says, is the Chaz the destination of the new Oregon Trail?
That's good. That's really good.
Let's see. Nephilim Ninja is here. He says, that's what made that game great. First they give us, then they just take away. Edward Mason wants to know if he's racist for speaking with a foreign accent. Apparently not.
Not if you're actually foreign.
Neff says, frankly, no, he did it in his typical Nephilim Ninja fashion. Frankly, me have reservation about reboot. Thank you, Nephilim. Serganos asked, why is it racist to fight Native Americans, but nobody cares about killing Germans and or Russians? They seem like the go-to enemy if you don't want to offend people. Yeah, and we'll talk a bit about how the pipeline thing was Russian in just a bit here. Let's see. Quest Fanning says England is wacky. Boris Johnson is a conservative, but as mayor of London, referred to an attempt to limit housing subsidies to $2,500 a month as genocide. Steve Friedman says, how can you be a libertarian if you support Trump? Well, I'm a Federalist, and I know you don't support Trump, so I don't know who that was directed at, but it wouldn't be either of us. Let's see. Ben Weil says, man, it's getting so you can't even have a pet tiger anymore. Let's see.
Yes.
Agent 2159 says, here, kitty, kitty, kitty. Quest says, you can be a libertarian in support of Trump because he was for cutting taxes, free speech, and the deep state he was trying to fight. That's the bloated, overpowerful central government bureaucracy. Ben Wild says, he's an emotional support tiger.
Possible.
Let's see, what else do we have here? Jeremy Greenway asked you, what is the LP platform? Looks like you've got the link up there to answer that.
Yep, I do. I have it memorized for a reason.
Sometimes acronyms are better than what's in the bill, says Agent 2159. Quest Fanning points out that Fauci makes over $400,000 a year. Let's see. Ben Wild says, mayo on cheeseburgers is the real evil and we should be fighting in synchronized swimming.
Why is mayo on cheeseburgers bad? Mayo on cheeseburgers is good, especially if there's tomato on it and pickles.
Skate-wise
Don't
is
add
first
me.
for me. I can't eat mayonnaise, period, so I have no opinion on whether or not it goes on burgers, just because I have food intolerance to it, so I'm sure it tastes good, I just can't eat it. Ben Wild is a grad of the educational institution Mr. Franklin founded. I guess I don't know which one that is, but I guess he's a deviant as well. Ben Wild, not Ben Franklin, but...
I don't know. Ben Wild might be a deviant too.
He says he sometimes rips the tags off of a mattress.
Yeah, sounds like a deviant.
All right. Let's see. What else do we have here? Quest Fanning says nothing dropped. Yeah, we froze up for a little bit. I could see it on my tablet. Let's see. Vampire Hunter D says Gates was BFF with Epstein. Nephilim says the joke was about broken English. And Quest Fanning will get last word for right now and says Bill Gates did not kill himself.
Those last three were the first ones that came back up when I opened Restream, so I'm all caught up now.
And it looks like you are caught back up on bandwidth too. So let's talk some pipeline stuff. So this past week, mostly while we were still on air, the Colonial Pipeline started having some problems, it looks like. And we did talk a bit about that in the lightning round, but it was just developing at the time. But hackers got into the Colonial Pipeline and shut the pipeline completely down with ransomware, demanding, I believe, the original demand was $25 million to have the software released and the pipeline open back up. This caused great gas shortages across the American Southeast. The pipeline supplying 45% of the gasoline, diesel, and jet fuel that goes across that region. Now, diesel didn't run out in most of the places, and I was seeing that across a lot of the pictures, but the gasoline was. It was definitely running out. And I don't know if that was entirely by panic buying or if this was because people were if they were actually running out and people actually needed the fuel at this point. But I could definitely see the case for panic buying because we saw some interesting ways that people were getting gasoline throughout this entire thing. I got some pictures up here that we can look at for this. One of those, and John actually found a picture of a great big tote, like the wireframe tote that you see in the back of a truck sometime.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't able to find that to put up on the screen. But we did have this image that was circulating around where somebody was pumping gasoline into a blue plastic bag. Now that was debunked. That actually didn't happen during this crisis. That was a 2019 photograph that came out of a magazine article. But it still speaks to the fact that people bought it at this point. The fact that they believed that this was true.
Mm-hmm.
What did you see on this so far?
Insanity. It wouldn't have been as much of a deal last year as it was this year because no one was going anywhere.
Right. Except
I
you
saw
and
all
I,
kinds of
because
things.
we were all kinds of across the country.
I saw people, I mean, I didn't see them with my own eyes, but I saw photos and videos and stuff of people filling laundry hampers with lined with trash bags with gas, like all kinds of stuff. Did you see the picture of the Hummer in Florida that basically blew up and melted because someone had filled the back of it with containers of fuel and somehow it caught on fire and it was a mess.
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't have that one up in the notes either, but yeah, I did see that one.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like everybody had a take on this one, and this one, I would not be surprised to find out that somebody in the government had something to do with this as quickly as this all turned political. Kim Klacik was one of the first ones to come out with this. She came out with this tweet. She quote tweeted a woman named Marie Oakes that said, "Video coming out of Asheville, North Carolina shows the fuel shortages in effect. Some of the gas stations are completely out of supply while others have lineups." And because I took the screenshot for the picture, I don't have the video going, but the video I did watch that on Contemporary was just somebody driving around and seeing lines around the blocks of people waiting to go get gasoline. And Kimberly Klacik says, would never happen under Trump. And I actually did have a little bit of pushback to that one as well, but what do you think of that idea?
It did, though. We had a gas shortage in 2016.
That was under Obama.
Very end, I guess, of his term. I think it was like maybe September or something. Yeah. So it was during the election cycle, I guess. But I do remember having to drive quite a ways to several different gas stations to find fuel.
I think that might have been a locality because we didn't have that where I lived.
I think it was the South in general, or the Mid-South maybe. But yeah, we definitely had that problem in Nashville. There was a gas shortage it lasted a couple weeks. But no, I mean, I don't know how this could have been politically motivated. I know that the actors they found out were Russian, but
were they though?
I don't know.
Were they though? Or is that just the default that everybody goes to?
Yeah.
Because somebody hacked. Honestly, though, when I saw that tweet come out from Klacik, I said, if all the other situations were the same, yeah, probably would have happened under Trump, just like that.
Yeah.
Because you've lost 45% of your fuel supply, and people are panicking. They're going out and panic buying everything they can get their hands on. And now we had the Dakota Access Pipeline at the time where we could have drawn from, but that still takes a day or two to get over there from a truck.
Yeah, it does.
I think it would have been resolved quicker under Trump because the Dakota Access Pipeline was open.
Probably.
But I think it would have happened.
Yeah, and this was right after, this is basically right after we essentially switched from being American-based with our fuel reliance back to Middle East based with our fuel reliance. So it almost kind of feels like retribution in a way.
Maybe. Well, I know some people are already talking about the fact that this could have been government mandated, and the government could have been the one that hacked in. And up until like the very end of this, all the articles that I read were talking about the fact that Dark Side rather. I kept saying Darknet throughout the week. It's actually Dark Side is the hacking group was local. They didn't start talking about Russia till the very end. I don't know where they're out of. I have no idea, but there seemed to be a consensus at the beginning of this that it was a local hacking group.
I only saw Russia. That was the only thing I saw.
That's the only thing they wanted you to see. So, I mean, with that, it's regardless of what happened, they have come back out and done this. The shortage is over. There was a release of the software put back up, and Colonial Pipeline paid. The fee for releasing the software was 75 Bitcoin, which is just a touch under $5 million, especially with the drop that just came back in. So they paid out 75 Bitcoin, and of course the news articles that talked about it said that it's untraceable Bitcoin, which if you think Bitcoin is untraceable, then, well, go buy a hooker with it and see what happens. With all those transactions and all those computers, and it looks like we just lost Elaine again. Bandwidth issues over on her end. Well, at least it's not on my end this time. So, yeah, it's... Let me see if she comes back. Or if we lose her again. Otherwise, we will see what's going on with that. Let's see. See what you guys are saying while we wait to see what she's doing. Quest Fanning asked, can you eat other types of mayo like canola or olive oil? Well, I never got the taste for it, so I probably could, and I could probably try them. I know that I've done that with some salad dressings before, so... Quest Fanning says, how much of a formulation difference is there with diesel? Can it be altered for use as regular gasoline? It can, but you're not going to do that in your garage. Actually, no, it technically can't, because diesel is actually a byproduct of gasoline production. So it's what's left over after you make the gas. You could thin it out with gasoline if you had some at home, and I've seen that done before. With like, we had where I used to work on a campground, a camper came in and filled his gasoline truck up with diesel all the way up. I'm sorry, it was the other way around. He filled his diesel up with gas. So there was residue in that, but we pumped all the gasoline back out of there and put it in cans and filled up all our vehicles around there with just that little bit of diesel residue. It made the vehicle smoky for a little bit, but it didn't really hurt them on anyway. So yeah, you can thin diesel down enough to use in gasoline, but other than that, no. I took some live chat while I was waiting for you.
Yeah, apparently this is going to be a thing tonight.
So one of the conspiracy theories that comes off of this, and this is going on the fact that they paid 75 Bitcoin, or roughly a little bit under $5 million, to go and release, was the fact that in general, especially on a ransomware issue, they wouldn't announce the payment. They wouldn't make it public. They would just come back out, they'd give the money and say, okay, well, here's the money. We're going to tell everyone that we caught you and that we released our own software and we got it. And, usually the recipient will come out and say, sweet, I got the money. I don't give a fuck what you tell people. I'm going to walk away with all this money. So there is question as to whether or not this was, I don't know, let's say tinfoily. What do you think?
I mean, a little bit. But that's kind of to be expected anytime this kind of thing happens.
Well, and some of the ideas that came about with this was the fact that this was generally in the southern area, which, except for Georgia, mostly went for Trump. Those were the majority of states that were affected. And a lot of people came out and said this wouldn't have happened if you all bought electric vehicles. That was one of the big narratives that came back out of this.
Oh, yeah. They're always going to use stuff like this to push for greener energy, green solutions, whatever. Which we're already on that track anyway. Like, every major car manufacturer has lots of hybrid options these days
Hmm.
to where cars are way more fuel efficient. They use way less fuel. And I mean, even heavy trucks are starting to be hybrids.
Yeah. I haven't seen any yet, but I know that all the manufacturers are talking about those. So I do understand that. There was some other pipeline news that came across the news this week as well, coming from our neighbors up to the north. Have you heard anything about the Enbridge pipeline?
No, I haven't.
So there's a pipeline that comes down from Canada. It actually goes into Superior, Wisconsin, and it fuels most of the American Midwest and Northern Midwest. It comes across. The problem that they're having with it, though, is that it goes across the northern region of the Great Lakes for almost the entirety of its journey, except for briefly when it goes across, I believe it's Mackinac Island, which is
Mackinac.
where Mackinac Island, where Governor Whitmer's having a problem with this. So this actually happened a few weeks ago, but Governor Whitmer ordered the pipeline shut down because she was worried about leaking and environmental concerns that came out of this. Now, Enbridge, the company that runs it, says we specifically made sure we've specifically reinforced this section of pipeline that crosses across Michigan, so we don't have to worry about leakage or anything off of this. And at this point, they basically told Whitmer to get fucked, and they're going to continue to pump through. What's your take on what's going on with that?
I mean, given how the last year has gone for her, I'm not surprised.
I do have to wonder if she has the purview to order this shut down too,
I
because it's
don't,
international.
mm, I don't think she does.
I think if this was local, she would have the purview to shut it down like that. But because this is going international, I think at least the Department of Homeland Security has to be involved in this from the executive branch of the U.S.
Right. And they might be advising her. I don't know. But no, I don't think she has the ability to make that call on her own because it is international. That she probably has to get permission from the State Department.
State Department. I thought DHS, but State Department actually probably would
Probably,
be.
I mean, DHS would advise the State Department of like what the risks are.
I want to grab your take on one more thing from the colonial side of this because this is what I was talking about when you froze up. But they paid in Bitcoin. We saw that 75 Bitcoin, roughly just a little bit under $5 million. But the articles that I read about this were saying that the darknet came out and they specifically chose untraceable Bitcoin.
Okay. Kind of sounds like a reason for the government to push for Bitcoin to be even more regulated.
Well, there's that, and the fact the other side of this is that's the argument with Bitcoin all the time too. Is it's untraceable. They're going to be doing human trafficking and drugs with Bitcoin.
Like you can't do that with cash.
Not only that, but do you really want those transactions on hundreds of computers that are mining Bitcoin
No,
that the
definitely
government
not.
can seize at a moment's notice?
No, that would be terrible.
I don't think it's as untraceable as they want us to believe. All right, we got to do the heavy stuff. Are you ready? I know you're not ready because you told me before we went live that you didn't want to do this, but
No,
this
I
is
don't.
the biggest news story of the week. So we've got to at least begrudgingly push our way through this here. Israel. So just as we were on last week, Israel and Gaza were starting to have problems with each other. There
Starting.
was, well, yeah, that's something that's been going on since
This is not
Britain.
new information, Ed.
Yeah, this has been going on since Britain released the land back to Israel and essentially expelled the Palestinians out of it at this point. But I don't know where this started. As far back as I can look and see into the recent events off of this, Israel is the aggressor in this particular. Now, they have not been the aggressor in the past, but in this particular one, unless I'm completely off base off of this, they are the aggressor in the fact that they went to violently evict Palestinians who were on a land contract or in violation of a land contract in, I believe it is the Al Jaffa neighborhood, is what it's called.
I don't know. I don't know why Palestinians, if they are considered a separate country, are paying rents to Israel. That doesn't make
No,
sense to me.
I don't understand that either. But towards the end of last week, there was a violent expulsion. Now, last week, there was a riot at the Al Aqsa Mosque, which we bypassed because we didn't talk about foreign affairs last week, even though we had something to talk about. There was a riot at Al Aqsa Mosque, and Israeli militants went in to get that shut down. The Al Aqsa Mosque is, of course, on the Temple Mount, the holy site in Judaism.
Hmm.
That happened, and then from that, it looks like I don't know if I feel like I'm missing a step off this, but from what I understand, after that, Hamas started firing rockets at Israel,
Right.
and then Israel started firing rockets back, and now we're here.
Yeah, and I'm not hearing much about any casualties on the Israeli side of things, and I think that's just because of the Iron Dome,
Mhm.
which, if you don't know what the Iron Dome is, I had to look it up because I kept thinking, like, what is the Iron Dome? Like, is it like the way that people talked about it made me feel like it was like a force field or something. I was like, I don't think that's accurate. So I went and looked it up. It's like it's a defensive, like, tracking system essentially that is meant to take down missiles before it even gets to its target. And it's all like automated. Like, it's all
Yeah.
automated to recognize threats and assess, and without a human being, I think, pushing a button every single time, it runs interference basically, which it's a very impressive system.
Yeah, I mean, we can watch some of it here. I've got a couple videos of the Iron Dome up here. Let's have a look at just what that looks like going up in the air. Cell phone video courtesy of some very, very brave Israeli, of course. Let's see. Where's my play button? There it is. That is kind of impressive, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I always have to pull it up on my phone when you show videos because I can't see it here on my computer.
Yeah, you can hear it, but you can't see it.
Yeah.
Then there's this one here as well, which is a little bit, it's a little bit better angle of this, so you can see what's going on with it. I know. Let me draw that back just a little bit.
And what they're trying to do with that is they know how the Iron Dome works, and they know that at a certain threshold, the sensors that are detecting these threats can be overwhelmed if there are too many.
Right.
That's why they are firing a bunch all at once. They're trying to find that threshold to where the Iron Dome is not as effective and that some of their rockets and missiles can get through.
And I mean, with that too, there's the added bonus of everything else that's going on. They're trying to exhaust some of the supply on that as well, which has been a concern for some of the more fiscal hawks in our government
Mm-hmm.
this week because the U.S. is paying for the Iron Dome
Yep.
system, and it's $70,000 a shot.
Yep, pretty much. And we just signed a 3 point, or actually it was like a 30. I'm gonna have to look it up really quick because I don't want to be wrong. We just signed a new arms deal, authorized a new arms deal
Mhm.
for
I believe it was $357 million or $billion.
something like that, something in that neighborhood.
But I mean, they're going after everything on this. They're not. It's not just civilian. It's not just. We're talking about ground war now. We're talking about ground invasion. I've heard rumors today that the ground invasion has started. I have not independently verified this yet, but I have heard the rumors that it started. Which, once you hear war and rumors of war, that's going to make everybody a little bit nervous, especially the religious types. But they got the Associated Press building this week, as you can see up on the screen there. Yep, you can see it going down there.
We were both way off. It was 735 million.
Oh.
So twice what we were thinking.
I said billion with a B, so.
Oh, I said million. I said 350 something million. But no, it was like twice that much.
I could see our government spending that much money on Israel.
Easily. They toss that money around like it's nothing.
Mm-hmm. I'm talking about the B number.
They also toss that money around like it's nothing.
Did you see anything on the AP building bombing?
I did. Mm-hmm.
What's your take on that?
That is purely them trying to control the spread of information, which doesn't make them look good.
Do you think that's it? Because I've also had the concern about the human shield aspect of it.
Yes.
With Hamas hiding behind journalists and civilians, because one of the other things that came off was an apartment building that also had, according to intelligence, and that's U.S. intelligence, that's not just Israeli intelligence, the apartment building also housed, what's the word I'm looking for? Hamas in it. But they were down on lower floors, and then they had floors and floors of just regular residential apartments sitting above them.
But at what point is the civilian cost too much? If you're going to go do a ground invasion anyway,
mm-hmm.
Why are you allowing that loss of life? Like, why is that loss of life okay?
I'm of the camp that the loss of life isn't okay, but we're coming back.
See, I don't think it is either. I mean, because if they were willing to, within a week, put troops on the ground, then what was the point of all of that? What was the point of all of the, posturing and, well, we're going to take out this building and that building and whatever? Like, I just don't, I mean, if you were going to approve a ground invasion anyway, then what was the point?
Clint Olson corrected me, by the way. It is Sheikh Jarrah is the neighborhood I was thinking of, where the explosion happened from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, I mean, I shared a tweet this morning, and it was a girl in front of that apartment building, and that's what she was talking about. She said, where are we supposed to go? She's 10, a 10-year-old, and she's just like, what am I supposed to do? Where am I supposed to go? People are telling us to get out and leave, but where are we supposed to go? I mean, Gaza's landlocked. Israel controls everything that goes in and out of Gaza. Where exactly are they supposed to be evicted to? Where do they go? They have nowhere to go.
I would say Jordan is a possibility. Because it is landlocked, but it does share a border with Jordan too, keep in mind.
But also, they've been there just as long as the Jewish population has, historically.
Yeah.
So why does Israel have more of a right to that land than they do?
I'm not even going to try to pretend who is in the right or who's in the wrong. They've never cohabitated
peacefully in that space. Like, that's just facts of life. But to me, people get really agitated about, so you're basically saying that Israel doesn't have a right to protect their private property. Well, who gave them that private property?
The English. The thing with me and this specific instance is I said from the beginning, and my contemporaries will confirm this to me, I am not going to try to figure out who's in the right and who's in the wrong in this one specifically. Because for as far as I can see, nobody's in the right, nobody's in the wrong on this. This is a hot war where everybody has done atrocious things. I can't even tell you who's the aggressor in this side. And for the most part, if you ask somebody who's the aggressor, their answer is going to depend on their political ideology.
Yep, absolutely.
That's plain and simple. It's on this specific situation. And Andrew Yang actually got into it a little bit too. So Andrew Yang came out and put out a statement that he was in support of Israel and in support of their ability to, like you said, defend their private property. He was staunchly against the people who were trying to say that they didn't have a right to defend themselves, and he came out and called what was going on with them self-defense, and he got met in a New York neighborhood with some hostility from that. Let me see if that'll load up, and let's see what that sounded like. All right. There it goes.
So that, what do you have to say about your tweet directly to New Yorkers right now?
It's heartbreaking. All of us what's happening in the Middle East. It's heartbreaking, bro. It is. People are dying. Civilians are dying.
And the worst part of that is you can't hear a word that he's trying to say up here because he's got the mask on. It's like, well, it's hard for me to say what anything is going on with this, or what that means, or whatever.
Do you condemn Israel for that? Do you condemn Israel for their unjust acts against the innocent Palestinians? Sir, I'm talking to him.
We got the publicist over here.
I'm talking to him.
We gotta go. Don't say anything
Sir,
that's
you're
gonna fuck up
touching
your
me. Please
campaign.
don't
And
touch
that's
me.
why you don't have my vote, and I guarantee you, you don't have the vote of a lot of New Yorkers.
Sir, I have just one question.
So that, what do you?
And then he walked it back, which our good friend Britt from the Freckles and Britt show called before it even happened.
I missed that one.
Yeah, she retweeted his original tweet and was like, countdown to when he has to take this back. And then later the same day, he posted not a retraction, but a clarification that was very different. It was a very different tone from the initial tweet that he put out. And she retweeted that too and was like, less than 24 hours.
Yeah. And now Iran is getting in on this too. They're giving support to Palestine, which you're not surprised for that, especially given the fact that Iran is pretty much a theocracy.
Mm-hmm.
So they're stepping in on this. Afghanistan looks like they're going to get in on this one. Did you notice you didn't hear anything about the Afghanistan withdrawal this week? Or the school that the terrorists blew up in Afghanistan last week?
Mm-hmm. What did I tell you? I called this when that announcement came out. They're pushing it out, giving the Taliban reasons to get more violent because we're not meeting the expectations that we set out in the agreement. And then that's going to be this administration's excuse to stay even longer. Well, they're becoming more violent. Why do you think that is, dumbass? You made an agreement, like our government made an agreement, and now you're willingly breaking it, like deliberately breaking it. It's just, it baffles me that there are people that are blind to that they think that there's like actually some legitimate reason for us to not get out 3 months sooner. That's all it is. June, July, August, September. Mm-hmm. It's 3 months. No, we could be out in May. This month.
I understand what you're saying, and we were supposed to be out 2 weeks ago at this point, but realistically, and it's the same thing with Israel too. Now, U.S. has a great interest in Israel. I know that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez got on Biden's case because Biden also tweeted out support of Israel throughout this situation. But realistically, why are we friends with Israel right now? There is the religious aspect of it. And yes, for all the people, all the progressives who are in staunch support of Palestine off of this, you are alienating your blue dog evangelical voting base that's out there because they are going to do whatever is going to be best for Israel because they think it's the Israel that Jesus was walking around in 2,000 years ago. In spite of the fact that it's really not the same thing. It's a completely different, it's a political entity. Mm-hmm. Yes, I understand it's the Holy Land, but it's going to be the Holy Land no matter who's controlling the political entity right now. But as far as U.S. goes, the only thing that's really good for that is it's one of our biggest allies over there, and it's a great place that the U.S. military can put a staging area, so they can world police from over there. Think about the Warhawks who are interested in Israel right now.
It's not good for us to leave. It's not good for us to leave Israel, and it's not good for us to leave Afghanistan from the perspective of we need to keep an eye on Iran.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which I'm not 100% opposed to keeping an eye on Iran because they have claimed that they want to build a nuclear weapon and they want to detonate it in New York City. I just don't want there to be a hot war because of that. However, I'm sitting in a situation where one doesn't really preclude the other.
Right, exactly.
And I would.
And we're already paying for hot wars. We're just not necessarily spending our troops' lives fighting them. We're just paying other countries to subsidize their defense so that they can fight the hot war and we don't have to.
I don't think we're going to spend too much more time on this story this time because, especially if the rumors that I've heard are true, there's ground war starting up over there as of today. We're going to be talking about this again next week. So, do you have any final thoughts on this before we move on?
I don't like it. I hate this topic. I don't like discussing it because the second you make any kind of favorable comment about Israel, people call you a murderer and a genocidal maniac. And the second that you say, well, this time maybe Israel was at fault, you're called anti-Semitic. And like there is no winning. There is no right side of this conflict to be on because both sides have made huge mistakes and have committed horrible acts against the other side. And I hate seeing children caught in the crossfire. I hate seeing little old ladies caught in the cross. Whether or not Hamas or Israel is using those people as human shields, that is not that person's fault that that's happening. So I just hate seeing, especially children, I hate seeing children get caught in the crossfire and pay for all of this. And it is, again, another Middle Eastern quagmire, the same way that Afghanistan and Iraq were quagmires and are quagmires, because the second you start paying for those bombs, which we have been for decades, that blood is on your hands too. And that is the fastest way to radicalize someone. So paying for those bombs and expecting someone else to fight that war and not get our hands dirty, that's not the way that geopolitics works.
Right. And I love the fact that you say that because there is a no-win. And I do have to wonder, and this will be the last question I asked you on this, so we'll talk. I'll ask you this question, and we'll talk about Liz Cheney, and we'll do a chat break here quick. I forgot what I was about to ask you. Oh, especially with the polarizing nature of this and the fact that nobody's in the right on this, could Israel and Palestine push us into our own civil war?
I don't know that it would push us. I don't know that it would push us into a civil war, but I see that war becoming as unpopular, if not more unpopular, than Vietnam.
All right. We will definitely catch up on this next week because there's going to be more. I promise you there's going to be more on this one. I want to just catch us up on the Liz Cheney saga because that looks like that is coming out. So last week, Tuesday morning, the vote was held and Liz Cheney was removed from her post as third in line of the Republican Party on the House of Representatives side. This comes as no surprise to anybody because she's wildly unpopular. And I mentioned this a couple times on this show and the other show that really honestly, if you don't have X amount of support out of your constituency by polling, you shouldn't be in leadership to begin with.
Right.
So I think this was the right call. And that is outside of my utter disdain for anybody with the last name Cheney.
But is that approval or disapproval based on factual evidence, or is that based on propaganda?
I think it was on polling, which there's
Right.
push polling everywhere
But
for that. So
are people's opinions actually being shaped by propaganda or truth? You can make anyone in the country unpopular if you push the right propaganda.
that's true.
And I'm not defending Liz Cheney by any means. I'm just saying that is a possibility.
Which we would have to discuss with the people of Wyoming. But with
I don't
this,
think she's popular. I don't think she's popular in Wyoming, but I think that that is something to be mindful of when you make a statement like that. When you say, well, if your constituency doesn't like you, then you shouldn't have leadership position or you shouldn't have access to this or that or whatever. You know, people's thoughts and opinions are shaped by the media that they consume. Granted, the people of Wyoming are probably consuming, a lot of right-wing media.
Mhm.
So the right-wing media turned on Liz Cheney as soon as she fell out of lockstep with Trump. So are they focusing on that more than her? Because the fact of the matter is they replaced her in leadership with someone who basically holds the same principles she holds, but likes Trump. That's literally the only difference.
yeah. And we'll talk just a bit about that for a sec. But, I mean, yeah, there is that, and it should be a bit more scientific as well. But your first job is not to lead the Republican Party either when you're in the House. Your first job is to represent the people of your specific district, which is why I get so frustrated with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on the same aspect of it, because she's not representing her district in New York. She's more representing the country at this point. And I do think that Liz Cheney fell into that same trap, but that's a trapping that everybody in the social media generation in the House of Representatives is falling into as well. So I can't just fault those two for that either, because they're both into it. Now, as you mentioned, there is a new leadership sitting in there. But before we get into that, I just want to point out that there was a brief challenge to Elise Stefanik's leadership as well. Chip Roy decided that he wanted to get in on this, which I'm not necessarily in the camp of yay Chip Roy. Looks like you froze up here, so let's wait just a sec, see if you catch back up. Are you caught back up? Are you moving? Blink twice if the internet company is holding you against your will. So as you froze up, I mentioned that Chip Roy had made a bid for that position, which maybe I don't know enough about civics to know, but what is the importance of that position? Other than the fact that you get to say that you're the third most powerful Republican.
Well, yeah, that's basically it.
That's what I have to say to that. I almost said something really, really bad about that one. I'm going to hold that off because that would have got me kicked off YouTube. But Chip Roy, what's your take on Chip Roy being eyeing that position, if it will?
I mean, again, they hold most of the same principles politically. The only difference is whether or not she likes Trump. That's the only difference between her and any other person that was bidding for that seat. And it's just another feather in their cap, honestly, to take back to their district and be like, well, I had so much influence. You should keep me in because then by extension, you will have more of a say in Congress.
Yeah. There is that. So, she's out and Elise Stefanik is in. Now, you seem to know more about this woman than I do, so tell me a bit about the fact that she got brought back in.
I mean, again, she's basically the same as Cheney.
Do you have more to say on that, or?
No, because they're the same. The only reason the Republican Party likes her more is because Congress is directly representing their constituents, and if their base loves Trump, they have to support someone for that position that loves Trump too. Period.
Which, and honestly, I'm not entirely opposed to that either. I'm not opposed to taking some of these people out that have been there forever and are of the old guard Republican Party. The people who want to go to war, who want to just play nice with the other people that want to go to war. I would like to see more of this, and I've said this before. I know you disagree with me on this, but one of the things that I like the best about the former president is the fact that he made war forever unpopular. He didn't get out of it, but he made it unpopular. And a lot of his base hates the fact that we're over there right now. And a lot of them will come out and say, well, we don't need to be over there for oil because we have our own oil over here. Just open up the oil off of that. He made the idea unpopular, which is a death nail to people like Liz Cheney.
Right. Well, so the House Republican Conference handles day-to-day operations of the Republican Party. So it's like the messenger between the Republican Party leadership and the members, i.e. the congressmen and women. Congress critters is what I call them sometimes. So they have meetings, they have events and things like that, but they communicate what the party wants to the members. So that's why that position is so important.
Okay.
And they are one of the entities that is basically responsible in their eyes of keeping all of their congressmen in line with the party so that people don't break ranks. Okay. So around this time in 2019, when Justin Amash was in hot water before he left the GOP, he had angered the House Republican Conference because he was not voting in lockstep with what the party wanted him to vote for. So again, this is another mechanism of the party exerting control over its members to make them accountable.
Okay.
And they can garner support to throw you off of committees, to make your job and your life in Congress very difficult. They are also responsible. I believe that the House Republican Conference is the entity that is responsible for basically for assigning committee positions. And I don't know if a lot of people realize how you get a committee position. You're selected by your party to have that committee position. Well, the party just doesn't do that out of the goodness of their heart. There has to be something in it for them. So if you want to sit on a very important committee, you're going to go to the conference of your party, and you're going to say, hey, I would love to sit on this committee because I think I'd be a great addition. I have experience. I have whatever. I have, maybe you want to sit on the, I don't know, Senate Judiciary or the House Judiciary Committee, and you are an attorney like Trey Gowdy or someone like that. Mm-hmm. The Republican Conference is going to turn around and they're going to tell you, all right, we think you'd be good at that job, but in order for us to give you that position, you have to raise X number of dollars for the party, not yourself, the party. So they force you to fundraise for the Republican or the Democratic Party in order to hold those positions. They basically hand you a bill that says, you owe this much money if you expect to stay on all of these committees. And that's how they exert control in the chamber. And Thomas Massey's talked about this, how when they're pressuring you to vote along party lines, they will have a staffer come around to where you're sitting and they'll hand you your bill to remind you just how much you owe the party.
Yeah. All that money in politics.
Ben says, I would like to be on the Pizza and Tacos Committee, meaning I have great power.
All right. I got one more topic I want to get to before the end of the show, and then I got a surprise stupidity as well. You want to take like 5 minutes of live chat? I left off at it'll be 1926 mark for you because you're an hour ahead of me. Or 7:26, I should say, because your clock probably isn't in military time like mine is.
Nope, it's not. I came in just after that at 1932.
So you want to start from there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was when I logged back in.
Okay.
Agent 2159 says, are you talking from experience about Bitcoin hookers, Ed?
No.
Quest to celebrating my return.
I wouldn't be stupid enough to buy a hooker with Bitcoin because that's on several 100,000 computers.
Another one of our viewers is asking for an opinion on Serbia's claim to Kosovo. That is a topic for another time.
Yeah, we can't do that in the little bit of time we have left, unfortunately.
No, we do not. Ben Wild says, I'm going to shut down Rita's water ice unless you pay me 100 billion bitcoins. Do 100 billion bitcoins even exist?
Probably not.
I don't think they do. I don't think they've been mined. I don't think they've mined that many yet. Quest said, I wonder how known the vulnerability in the pipeline control software was previously known. There's no real security in obscurity. Weaknesses should be shared and patched. That's a principle of information security. Agent 2159 says, what got me was the amount of time it took to recover. Even if you were building data infrastructure from scratch, that still took too long. Even then, they paid the ransom, which tells me they don't have a DR plan. Sounds legit. I think you both know what you're talking about. He says also, I know from experience, electricity provider infrastructure is just as vulnerable and it's frightening. Yes, definitely. Our infrastructure vulnerabilities are not good in this country. Clint corrected you about the neighborhood. Quest said, I saw 20 in a row intercepted by the Iron Dome. They have similar automated systems on Navy ships. Clint said it's a low-tech version of Star Wars they talked about in the 80s. Quest said, why do the Palestinians keep aiming at the same spots? I would imagine it's because they are either a soft target that they want to hit or they are strategically important. So they're trying to overwhelm the Iron Dome so that they can hit that specific target.
Yeah.
Quest called it, we're going to get money for an arms sale. True. That arms deal was for 75 Bitcoin by coincidence. Ooh, that's interesting. Brad asks, ground invasion of what? I think it's Gaza.
Yeah, that'd be either the West Bank or Gaza, one of the two. I think it's going to be Gaza, you're right.
Mm-hmm. Glenn says, I'm impressed. From looking like peace in the Middle East to war in a few months. I have thoughts about that. Many, many thoughts, but I will try to be quick. You don't get peace in the Middle East when you deliberately leave out Palestine and when you know that they don't want to take part in the peace deals because they know they're going to get the shaft. You do the peace deal anyway. That's not really how you get lasting peace. So I'm really not that surprised. Also, the peace deals, the historical peace deals, I keep saying this and I don't know why people aren't getting it. You can't make a historical peace deal and then turn around and sign like a $30 billion arms sale. Clearly that means something. You wouldn't buy it if you weren't planning on using it.
Right.
Thomas says, if your press shares a building with Hamas, you have a problem. Yeah, well, I would imagine that they don't really have a choice. Quest said, the other Arabs use Palestinians as a talking point. They actually don't care. They won't let them in as refugees. I think that I have heard that before. Clint said, Israel is entitled to a nation state, but it should not be at the expense of the Palestinians. I totally agree. Quest agrees and says they're both aggressors. And then he said, was this in Sunset Park? I don't know.
Probably the Yang confrontation.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Israel should never have been given or taken full control of that land in the first place. That's Clint.
Well, it was British controlled, and the British gave it to Israel.
Right.
They either gave it or sold it. I think there was money exchanged.
I would imagine that there is.
So the Israelis could have a nation state after World War II.
Right. It was part of their like peace offering since someone had literally just tried to exterminate them out of Europe.
Yeah, and the Palestinians never had full control of that land either. But it was a British colony.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They were basically just given new masters or overlords or whatever you want to call it.
All right, you want to circle back for the rest of these?
Yeah, we can. I left off at 1952. Remind me.
Okay. A couple of things that I just want to go over as far as the mask mandates. First off, looks like the CDC has come out and said that if you are fully vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask anywhere, indoors or outdoors, but only if you are fully vaccinated. And I don't know how it's been around you in Indiana, but here in southern Wisconsin, you're starting to see those signs come down like fucking that. The Piggly Wiggly doesn't have the mask sign in it anymore. The Woodman's, which they had the biggest sign out there, they had a sign like this out front that says face covering required. That's gone.
Yeah. I've gone into several stores in the last week where there was a couple times where I legitimately just forgot to put my mask on because I was walking and talking at the same time and I just wasn't thinking about it. And I walked around the whole store without a mask on, and about maybe 15 minutes into it, I realized, oh shit, I didn't put my mask on. And no one said anything at all. No one gave any dirty looks, like nothing. So I understand that some people feel pressured to keep those signs up because it makes a political statement more than anything else.
Okay.
But I kind of just want to stop wearing it. And if someone that is employed by the establishment asks me to put one on, then I would. Then I will or would. Okay, my brain does work. Then I would wear one. But if I walk around and no one says anything, then fine. Like, whatever.
Well, really, honestly, that's the way that it should be. And I still see a lot of people that are walking around wearing them, even though there's no requirement for that. I don't begrudge these people. Honestly, I think they're kind of stupid, but I'm not going to come out and confront them about this and say, hey, take that fucking mask off. No. If that's what you think is best for your body, then do that. That's what that's what it should always be. But some of this has become a little bit more, shall I say, religious about this. AOC actually had the best take. I can't believe I just said those words. But AOC actually had the best take on this. She has come out and said that she is going to continue to wear the mask. She put this in her Instagram story. Cortez tweets out, I don't know if it's a tweet or not, but it's on the Instagram story. It says, by the way, if you want to keep wearing your mask, then do it. Personally, I'm going to keep wearing my mask in shared indoor public spaces, like elevators, subway, grocery stores, etc. New York City got hit so hard that I think some of us are going to take the time adjusting as we feel comfortable. Also, it's a nice accessory when you don't want to do all your makeup. Mask wearing is also something I'll probably continue doing overall from time to time if I feel like I might be coming down with something and I don't want to spread it. Which,
you've always had the ability to do that, though.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where I say she is coming out with the my body, my choice argument to this. Yes, the CDC says you don't have to do it anymore, which we can sit and question whether or not this is because the Biden administration completely fumbled the Israel-Palestine thing, and now they're trying to come up and give them a win because, hey, the masks are going away. We could sit and debate that for hours.
Well, and there's this whole argument that the right is making and that lots of libertarians are making where they're like, see, we told you all along they weren't effective. Well, I don't know that it's that they're not effective now or that the COVID strains that are now circulating are a lot more like the common cold or the flu rather than the very fatal form that went around last spring. There was a study last fall that said the fall wave of COVID was like 20% less fatal than the initial wave. So it was getting weaker and weaker. And we still might have strains that are very, very deadly, but those might be very, very rare, which is a common model that the flu virus follows. I don't know if it's actually called the flu virus or if it's something else, but the flu is that way. You can get a flu shot. It doesn't protect you from all of the strains. It just protects you from the most common ones. You can still get a strain of the flu that is very deadly and you could die from it. But I feel like COVID is kind of on that same track. Eventually, you're going to be able to get a COVID shot every year if you want one. It's not going to be that big of a deal, but it's definitely not going to protect you from all of the strains of COVID. It's just going to protect you from the most common strains of COVID. If you want to continue wearing a mask, then you're going to be able to continue wearing a mask. And we've always had the ability to wear a mask, but it just wasn't done. Like people just didn't do it in society. However, it's been common to do that in Asia for decades. And it's because so much of their population lives in such cramped cities where they're literally just on top of each other.
Yeah. And that's exactly where it goes with that. And once again, there's private property. But on the virus theory, it is like if you're a virus and you kill your entire host reservoir, you're not going to exist as a species for very much longer.
Exactly.
Now, however, I said AOC had the best mask take on this, which, once again, I can't believe those words came out of my mouth.
Mark your calendars. I'm writing it down right now. 5/17/2021.
David Hogg had probably the worst take.
Shocking.
David Hogg tweets out on May 14th, I feel the need to continue wearing my mask outside even though I'm fully vaccinated because the inconvenience of having to wear a mask is more than worth it to have people not think I'm a conservative.
That's hilarious.
And then he doubled down and said, go ahead.
That's similar to what Rachel Maddow said on air. I don't know if that's in the notes or not, but we can talk about that in a second.
It's not. He doubled down on this. He says, I feel like this is something you can especially understand if you're in a very liberal area where 99% of the people you see are wearing masks. I heard some chatter about what Maddow said, but I didn't actually see it for myself.
She basically said she needed to rewire her brain to not see unmasked people as an enemy. Yeah. Chew on that.
It's not a cult.
Right? It's not a cult. And then we have the Rio de Janeiro Jesus statue. I can't remember the name of it actually, but on the back it says like vaccines save or something like that. And there's people standing behind it, like basically bowing to it. And it's like, not a cult. Okay.
We did that on Contemporary this morning. And it looks like they projected that with a light, by the way. I didn't put the video on the stack for the day, but we did watch it this morning, and it looks like they didn't paint it on there, which I think would be sacrilege.
No, yeah, it was definitely not permanent. No.
Yeah. It was a projection, probably looks like a projector, obviously. A light show that went onto this, but yeah, it's not a cult. The other side of this that's happened this week is
also, hold on. I just want to point out real quick. David Hogg might be the most hated liberal in many parts of America. I don't know why anyone would ever mistake him for a conservative. We all know that very punchable face. Oh, Sewell said the exact same thing. I just saw that. And again, Agent 2159 said, Christ the Redeemer is the name of the statue. Someone's way quicker with Google than me. You're just going to be my fact checker. Okay? That's your job now.
The other side of the arguments, we came on the unemployment front because after last week's abysmal jobs number, which we were both wrong on that, by the way, the jobs were out there for people to take. That was the new jobs for people taking was 226,000 for the month of April, which is partially why unemployment ticked up as well. The jobs are out there. Mm-hmm. The companies are begging for these people to come back to work at this point. Well, now we're starting to have conversations in various other states similar to the one that Ron DeSantis had that we talked about last week, including coming from President Biden, who has talked about now is the time for everyone to go out, and if you aren't looking for a job, then you shouldn't be getting unemployment benefits.
I mean, that's kind of the point of unemployment benefits. Like, you are supposed to be looking for a job. Like, I get that for a time in certain states, there were no jobs to be had because all the restaurants and everything were closed. So it was very difficult to look for a job, or you would have to apply to a bunch of jobs that you were in no way qualified for because those are the only ones that were listed. But yeah, that's always been the point of unemployment, is that you have to look for a job in order to get it. However, as I pointed out last week, it's pretty easy to go on to most of the states' websites and just put in that you applied for jobs on Craigslist. And the mere fact that they have so many people filing for unemployment now, they don't have enough auditors to go back and check and make sure that you actually did apply.
Yeah, but I'm willing to bet that the people who are pulling Joe Biden's strings right now don't want to see another jobs report like they saw for April. I think that spooked them. I think that spooked all the investors. And hell, I think that spooked the Fed at this point too. we're seeing runaway inflation off of this right now. Gas prices
I
are
don't know
going
why
fucking
it spooks the Fed though, because if they have been, it's literally what they do. How can it spook them? They literally caused it, part of it.
I'm not begrudging that argument. You're absolutely correct.
It was like when the chair of the Fed was like, he was shocked by like the inflation numbers, and everyone on the internet was like, you are literally the one who pushes the print button on the money printer. And you're shocked by the inflation? Like, what? How does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, we'll see what actually comes back out of this. I know I actually got pissed on Contemporary. Like, Fanning, I know that he is in a tunnel and he's not watching anymore. I think Seawall was there too, but I actually was mad because the trend was going around that we are closed right now because the kids are coming out and saying, unless you give us the wage that we want, we are not coming back to work. Well, guess what,
in a
motherfuckers?
way, hold on though. In a way, I'm okay with that because it's the forces of the market acting. They're saying, you know what? I don't want to work for $12 an hour. I would like $15 an hour or whatever it might be. I kind of don't begrudge them.
I don't begrudge them either, but there's the other force of the market that's going to come and kick them in the ass, and that's the fact that the eviction moratorium is off.
And the fact that we now are going into hyperinflation. So just because they got a pay raise doesn't mean they're going to be any better off because they are going to have less buying power.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think they're stupid for asking for more money.
No, they're not.
Like,
but...
I think in this country generally, especially among young people, I think so many people struggle with imposter syndrome that we don't feel like we can ask for more when we're negotiating pay. I think generally young people are really bad at negotiating pay for a job. And most companies can get by just saying, well, this is our corporate policy. So we start everyone out at $10 an hour. We start everyone out at $5 or whatever it might be. And nobody really wants to push back on that because they don't want to lose that opportunity. So they're like, oh, well, okay, like I'll give it a year and then they'll give me a raise or whatever. And then those companies take advantage of the fact that those young people or people in general are not comfortable negotiating a pay raise or negotiating a higher rate or negotiating a promotion or, whatever. Like, that's not a skill I was ever taught in school or college or anything. It's almost like you need a career coach or your parents to tell you those things. And I don't think a lot of times that comes naturally for many people.
All right. I have one other thing that I want to touch on before we do Surprise Stupidity. I've actually got two, but I think I'm going to... No, I want to touch on this one real quick before we get into the vaccination card. But the DHS has also come out and said that violent extremists might exploit the COVID restriction easing, and there might be new attacks from violent extremists. And that just screams false flag to me at this point.
No, violent extremists is code for white supremacists because that's what they want it to be. And the next anything that happens, whether it's a shooting, whether it's whatever, anything, any big thing that happens where people get hurt, they will have already prepped everybody mentally to accept that narrative.
All right. The last one that I have on regular news before we get to Surprise Stupidity is for those of you who think that you can pass around a fake vaccination card. The FBI is warning you that you can't do that. In fact, they may put you in prison for up to 10 years if you pass around a fake vaccination card.
Pass around as in how?
As if
like
you
distribute them?
Yeah, like if you give out or sell fake vaccination cards that show that you've been vaccinated, there could be prison time for this. However, looking a little bit into the details of this and the statutes that go across with this, because there was no legislation on this, which means that it's coming from an existing law, it doesn't come from the fact that you're passing around misinformation. It actually comes from the fact that you're using that little CDC seal in the bottom of the card. You're using government property and government copyright to do so, which does carry a sorry, a $15,000 fine and up to 10 years in prison.
Yikes. Okay.
So, what's your take on that? I don't think anybody should give out a fake vaccine card with a slightly modified seal on the bottom. I don't think anybody should be doing that.
I think that there are so many very creative people in this country that it won't matter.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you change and modify the logo just a little bit, you're actually legal at that point.
I also have another point about the vaccine cards that it came up today.
What's up?
Otherwise, I would have added it to the notes for last week. But I do think it's important to talk about because I'm interested in everyone's thoughts. There was a woman who made a TikTok video, and I'll probably throw it up in the Discord later, where she basically was saying, I see all of the conservatives saying that they're just going to make up fake vaccine cards because they want to travel internationally. And she wanted to know how that was different than people making up fake visas to cross the border to come and live and work here. And I don't think that that's an equal comparison, but I do think it is a very interesting question. Why is one okay? Why is one okay and one is not okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's worth the question. But some of the problem is with some of the people who are coming over here undocumented. They're not even trying with the fake papers for this. And
right.
You know, you give a hand for the ones that are actually trying for this, and they're actually going through to make fake papers. Most of the times, they just walk across the border and disappear.
Mm-hmm. I just thought it was an interesting point. I didn't think it was. I didn't think it was exactly an equal comparison, but I do like that question's being asked because it is kind of hypocritical to say that, to say, well, I can create fake paperwork and go wherever I want to go and cross whatever borders I want to go to, but you're not allowed to.
Well, and a lot of this too comes down to the idea of domestic versus foreign travel. Like I myself would never, I would make, if like it was buy and sell, I would probably think about, I wouldn't do it, obviously, FBI, I wouldn't do it at all, but I would think about getting a fake credential if that was the only way for me to eat and feed my family, if it was domestic. But if I'm going to be a guest in someone else's country, no, I'm going to honor their customs. I'll get the regular document and go that way because it's what they want for me to be a guest in their country. Their country, their rules.
Mm-hmm. Right. But I have seen people saying that, oh, well, I'll just get a fake one.
Yeah, that's kind of an asshole thing to do. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Follow the rules and the customs of the country that you're in. All right.
Yeah, and the other big difference is obviously that people that are talking about doing this are talking about going on vacation. They're not talking about relocating there and staying, which is a totally different topic.
Yeah. All right. I got a little bit of stupidity to close out this show for you here. This one caught my attention. I'm like, you know what? I bet you Elaine hasn't even heard about this one. So this one comes to us from The Blaze. Former high school aide testifies she didn't realize sex with students is off limits for all staff as opposed to just teachers and gets 4 years behind bars.
Repeat that? What?
Former high school aide testifies she didn't realize sex with students is off limits for all staff as opposed to just teachers and gets 4 years behind bars.
What was her job?
She was an aide. She was a high school aide.
Lord.
A former teacher's aide at Texarkana, Texas High School testified that she wasn't aware that sex with students is forbidden for all staff members as opposed to just teachers, and in the end, 24-year-old Ashlyn Faye Bell was sentenced Monday to 4 years in prison after pleading guilty to sexual misconduct with 3 underage males.
Really?
Testimony at the trial for Bell indicated that she made contact with the boys she met while working as an aide at the Texas high school, the Texarkana Gazette reported, after which she picked them up from truck stops and their homes in the middle of the night, often with her 3-year-old daughter in the back seat. The paper reported that Bell took the boys to her home in New Boston where she had sex with them. But Bell testified that she didn't realize that Texarkana Independent School District policy prohibited all staff members from having sex with students as opposed to teachers only. Not to
She was a
mention,
teacher's aide.
yeah.
Literally, her job title says teacher's aide.
Well, there are different licensing requirements for this, but the fact that you're going to truck stops to pick these kids up tells me you know you
Indicates
were
in
doing
the
something
middle of the
wrong.
night, indicates that you realize that it's not okay. Not only that, but they were underage. So even if you hadn't come into even if you had like met them at the truck stop and had never seen them before in your life, the fact that they are underage is still a crime. Wood chipper. Where's that at? It does not just apply to men. I hate the double standard that, oh, well, every man has a hot teacher fantasy. Like, so it's still gross. I don't care.
The last point that I want to make out of this article here is the prosecuting attorney refers to documents that Bell signed at a new employee orientation regarding sexual harassment of staff and students, and that Bell earned a 90% on a related test.
What?
She knew she knew what she was doing was wrong.
Oh, of course she did. Otherwise, she wouldn't have met him in the middle of the night because it wouldn't have been a problem.
Yeah. But yeah, they had her go through the sexual harassment training, and she scored a 90% on the test. So, to the wood chipper. That's what so saith Elaine. To the wood chipper, she says. And to the wood chipper, well, I can't exactly make that happen, but that's all I got.
All right. What a show.
You were on 752, I believe.
$7.52? You mean
Yeah, because it was 652 for me.
1952?
Yeah, 1952.
Okay. Yeah, mine's not on military time. Or no, mine is on military time. Yours is
Oh,
not.
so is mine then. No,
Okay,
both of ours
perfect.
are. I think that must be a part of the Restream program.
That's right. Okay. I'm with Adam Bates and his questioning our unwavering support of Israel. That's from Clint. Oh, Glenn says we were supposed to be out 2 decades ago. I'm assuming he means Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
Clint also said we should not be world policing over there. That is very true. Agent 2159 says, and we have Kuwait. Yep. Quest said I'd prefer not getting nuked here. Yeah, I mean, I think we all would prefer that, but
Well, I don't know. I want to play
nuclear
Fallout
world.
in real life.
I don't play video games. Clinton said you have to separate the religion from the state. You do, but they don't want to. And it is their right to decide what form of government they have. Clint also said if you go back and review how we installed the Shah in Iran, you can see why we have a crappy history of installing ruthless dictators in the Middle East. Oh, yes, we do. Agent 2159 says Israel, Iran, Iraq, Jordan. There's a list and a trend, Clint. Quest, oh, this was great. Quest said, I'm always amazed how much Scott Horton knows about the U.S. fuckery in the Middle East. If for some reason there's anyone who doesn't know about him, their Middle Eastern knowledge can be doubled by watching any random 5 minutes of Scott Horton. Thaddeus Russell is pretty awesome too. I cannot suggest watching Scott Horton more heartily. If you are curious about how all of this goes in the Middle East and how it all works, Scott Horton is literally the man. So go check out the Scott Horton show if you want to learn more about the Middle East and understand a little bit more about these never-ending conflicts. Thomas says an elected official's job is to represent her constituents, not fight a personal vendetta against Trump. She is failing to do her job. He is talking about Liz Cheney.
Mm-hmm.
Clinton says yes. Peach Pie said, you mean the Democrats? Also true. Oh, I called them Congress critter, and Peach Pie said I call them spineless politicians. Quest says Newt Gingrich ruined Congress, over-centralizing the power in the leadership. And then Quest said he was going to head out. Seawall rides into Chad in his armored half-track. You need a theme song, Seawall, for your entrance.
He has one.
Oh, does
I'll
he?
play it for you later.
Okay. Um, Ben said he's on the Pizza and Tacos Committee, which I already said. Massey is consistently not raising money for the GOP. Yeah, that's true, and they hate him for it. They get very mad at him. That's why he's not on any important committees. He also explains how they rank committees by importance, and he basically says that he sits on the committees that he feels his constituents feel are important, which is like the Veterans Affairs Committee and stuff like that, which the leadership actually has ranked that committee as like a C committee, not an A level committee. Just a little tidbit of information there. And he said that himself. So Ben, Agent 2159 asked Ben, is that the same as being a member of the Ministry of Silly Walks? I love
Nice.
that skit.
I haven't seen that skit. I'm aware of what it is, but I haven't seen it.
Okay. Seawall says, I will remove money from politics. Just put me in charge. Grin. Right? Ben says, I'm saying the pizza and toga party is the most important party of our time. I don't know who this person is. Knots? You guys are the cutest couple on Twitch. That's funny because we're not a couple.
Yeah, we've actually we've been in the same state. I actually have to walk that back because I said at the beginning we had never been in the same state. We have been in the same state recently, just never in the same city because I went across Indiana to go to DC.
Yeah, but I think you were you crossed over like South Bend area, like way in the north part of the state. So it was nowhere near me.
Well, yeah, but we were still in the same state at the same time. When we first started doing the show, I said we'd never been in the same state at the same time, but that's not true because we have been in the same state. We've just never been even in the same city.
Yeah. Also, still not the same. Still not the same. We're not a couple.
No.
That is not a thing. Sorry if you guys were shipping us. I don't have dark hair. Ed likes dark-haired crazy ladies.
I like dark-haired ladies. I just find the crazy ones.
You like AOC, okay?
My future wife.
See? He likes dark-haired and crazy. I am a ginger, so it would never work. Clint said there are only 21 million Bitcoin. Glenn, oh yeah, he corrected me. DR means disaster recovery. Okay. Agent says, if you think property is hard to find in LA, welcome to Gaza. I'm kidding. Ben said, it's awesome here. If a store has a mask required sign still up, people will walk up to the door and then turn around and leave. Awesome. Squirrel says, yeah, I can't say that out loud. Sorry. Facebook wouldn't like it.
Neither would YouTube.
Neither would YouTube.
They like both
Seawall
those words to get apart, but you can't say them together.
Exactly. Seawall says only the sick should wear a mask. Ben says next they'll have underwear mandates to stop the spread of crotch lice. The Mormons already do that. They have their holy Mormon underwear.
What? Tell me after the show. I've never heard of that before.
They have special garments they have to wear under their clothes at all times.
Okay.
And then Seawall had the same thought as me. Everyone can take a look at Hogg and know he's not conservative. Agent 2159 knew the name of the statue in Rio de Janeiro. It's called Christ the Redeemer. I could not recall. As soon as he said it, I was like, yes, I know that name, but I have a problem recalling information like that sometimes. Oh, Seawall says Senpai noticed me. Yes, I did. Agent says I want AOC to wear the mask because it helps muffle the screech of the banshee. Seawall, I cannot read that comment out loud, okay? Stop it. Money printer go burr. Yes, you're exactly right. I can read that one. Some jokes about the Fed. The Fed, print more money. Money worth less? What? Yeah. Without unemployment, I'm sure they will accept less. Probably. I think there's going to be some kind of equilibrium reached, but yeah, for now. Joshua Aaron Smith said it wouldn't be a problem if they were holding out and not getting unemployment forever.
Is that the Joshua Smith?
No. Seawall says, with my job, I literally can't negotiate my pay. Yeah, some jobs you can't. Not him says, I lost my job at the very beginning, went and got a better one shortly after. Sunshine says, will both of you publicly acknowledge Joe Biden is the rightful president of this country and thank him for curing coronavirus?
Most popular president ever, most votes ever, and they were completely legitimate. Honk honk. Wink wink.
Are you going to do that in the Trump voice?
If it's rigged, okay. Completely rigged. Everyone knows I won the election. Everybody knows that. Sleepy Joe couldn't have got that many more votes. He got even more votes than Obama. Do you really believe that? Okay, guys.
Sunshine says, please thank and salute him. Too far. Ben says the FBI is going to hunt down, meaning they will use force to enforce something that was government overreach. That's exactly what it means, Ben. Seawall says, raise middle finger. That's my salute to Biden. Seawall says, if another nation demands a vaccine, I will respect their laws. Oh, I reminded everyone that statistically one of our viewers is a Fed. Sunshine said, yeah, fed up.
Not him. That wasn't me that called you all out. If it says JE at the end of it, it's me. Otherwise, it's her. We're signed into the same account.
Yeah, we share the account because it's for the show. Not him says not aware. Not aware. Yeah, I don't believe that. Seawall says if this was reverse sexes, the defendant would be facing life. Psh, they're way easier on that on pedophiles in general, unfortunately. Randy says, who could the Fed be? Not him, guessed Ben. Seawall says he'll go get the wood chipper. Ben says 90%, so she excels at this. Wow. Seawall came back in his armored half-track towing a very large industrial wood chipper. Earlier I made a comment that said agent, calling yourself agent was probably too on the nose for a Fed. And then later he said, I'd show you my badge if I knew where it was, but I think I left it in the divorce.
Nice.
That's a good place for it to stay. And Ben says, Mormons wear garments which are supplemental underwear to protect you from spiritual crisis. Yeah, that's basically it. It's really funny. I think it's funny because I don't get the purpose of it. So, whatever.
Especially when you can have 25 wives too.
Right?
Seriously. You'd be wanting that thing hanging and swinging around all the time.
That is a visual I did not need.
And yet, now it's come out of my mind and into yours.
I've been blessed.
All right. Well, on that note, I do want to say thank you to everybody who came by and hung out with us, kept us honest in the live chat, kept us laughing, kept us going throughout all of this. We do all of this for you guys, so thanks everybody who came by and checked us out. I will be back here in the morning for another rousing episode of Contemporary Headlines that will be at 7 o'clock in the morning, so come and hang out with us. Links are in the description if you're over on the Facebook side. So you can come and hang out over there. Always love to see you guys, and I'm sure that everyone else would love to come back and hang out with you guys too. So definitely come back for that. Otherwise, we'll be back here next week for more of the Red Net Show. So make sure you set your clocks and calendars for that. We'll discuss what's happening with it, because that's Memorial Day next week, isn't it, right? Or is that the week after?
That's the week after.
Okay, so yes, we will definitely be here next week. We might have some changes up for Memorial Day, but no matter what, I'll be here, because otherwise Jessica Green will send out a search party to make sure I'm okay. So come back and join us for more of that. Otherwise, you can go check out all of our friends over on the Freedom Scoop Media Group. Stephen Ignoramus, who is streaming right now. Otherwise, The Generational Gap, The Breakdown with Breckenhoff, The Already Conservative, and The Freckles and Brick Show. Go and check all of them out over there as we finish up and finalize our website, so you have one convenient place to go find all of them and support all of them as well. So, lastly, if you're just catching up now and you want to catch the entire show, you can find us back on demand over on YouTube and over on BitChute.com. You can go check us out over there. The links are in the description as well. I'll be cleaning up some of the links this week, so we'll actually have accurate links because I know a couple of them are broken right now, so look for that. Look forward to coming back and hanging out with us, and hey, if you like what we do, throw us a tip. The links are in the description. You can come finish the conversation with us in the Guilded server, in the Discord server, or you can find me over on Twitter. That is at EdsBlog Twitter with a 1 in place of the I. My wonderful co-hostess over on Twitter as well, at LibertarianRed1. Both of our Facebooks are linked in the description. You can go check us out over there on either one of our pages and go continue the conversation because we love to have the conversation with you. And lastly, never take the words of bloggers, podcasters, or journalists as gospel. Find all the facts and draw your own conclusions. Elaine, lead them out with your last words.
Have a great week. Don't do anything I wouldn't do twice.
Take care, everyone.